Hi everybody, welcome to today's video. We're going to be talking about hybrid inferencing. This is the term that we use to describe the combination of local inferencing on the edge, working on top of an AI PC, combined with an API server that can be privately and self-hosted or running in a private cloud. And the hybrid refers to the ability to seamlessly go back and forth, leverage the capabilities of each one in conjunction with each other, depending on the use case and depending upon where information lives. We're going to dive right in. To get started, what we're going to do is we're going to make our connected enterprise server discoverable by our app running on the AI PC. What you'll notice immediately is we now have a library button that gives us some capabilities to connect to a semantic library, vector database spaces that we've created on our Model HQ server. It also then provides a variety of different options in terms of inferencing. We can run chat and agents locally, where all that inferencing happens on device, or we can go push all of that to an API server, all of which can happen through the same interface. The first thing that I want to show you is just a very simple thing, which is how do we go back and forth between local inferencing. As an example, we could take our standard bot template. All that inferencing would run locally on device, as well as the standard chatbot. Or in this case, we can simply use our API server BizBot. And now you can see the model options are large because it provides all the options that are available on the server. And this inference, instead of running on our device, is now going to be run on our server. So let's go ahead. We'll just take a quick look at this, and I'll just run a quick inference. All right, again, just to remind you, so everything was entered into the app. It was sent over an API to our Model HQ inference server, which is running on a CPU Linux server. Could be privately hosted, running in managed services, a data center, could be running out of a closet in your office, or of course it could be running on a private cloud instance. But the idea is that it's running on flexible, commodity-oriented hardware that's widely accessible, and you probably even have servers in your enterprise that are underutilized. You could pop up the Model HQ server and then instantly start to run inferencing on top of it. You see pretty good performance and pretty decent accuracy that we're going to get out of a 14 billion parameter 5.4 model. Again, this is the inference running on the API server. Next use case that I wanted to quickly show is, in this case, we want to run the inferencing local. But what we want to do is we want to be able to pull some information that's sitting on that server. And I've set up a normal chatbot. It's going to run locally. But now the sources that are available, in addition to uploading files or looking at existing sources that we have or existing database tables, we now have these connected libraries as well. This is a semantic vector knowledge base that's running on the server that we created in advance. And now we're going to connect to that as a source. Now when we actually run a query with that source, we're going to pull information from that vector database, and then the inference is going to get run locally. And so we'll say, so we ran our vector search. This was actually pulled from the knowledge base on the server. We get a full view of what sources were looked at and the context that was created. That context then was passed to our local model, which is then running and providing the generation. So we get the actual sources, the search results, and we then get a grounded generation with the inferencing actually running locally. We think this is a very, very important paradigm where you have a larger knowledge base and you want to be able to pull information down to a local device and then run the inferencing entirely locally. And again, the whole thing is done without any per token charges, and the whole thing entirely within the security zone of the enterprise. This is the second pattern, using a knowledge base and then running the inferencing locally. Third key pattern then that I wanted to highlight is agents. We've gone through in several other examples how to run agents on local device, how to run agents in batch mode. But now what we're going to do is we're going to take one of our agent processes and we're going to run it as an API. And so this is a simple process. We've showcased it in another video. We take a customer transcript, we run some basic analysis against it. All of this runs locally, but now we're actually going to call it over API. Here's the text that we're going to use. And now the agent process and our text were sent to the API server. The API server immediately came back, ran the analysis, and gave us all of those results. So a third key mode of this seamless hybrid interaction between server and end device is being able to go back and forth of running agents locally versus running agents on server. And then the last thing that I wanted to show is you can also build libraries. So one of the most powerful techniques is to take a larger knowledge base, that perhaps you have a variety of files, from your app to be able to take those, build that library on the server, and then to be able to come back and have access to it as well as anybody else that would have access to that server. So just to show a very, very quick example, we're going to build a new library, and we're just going to call this agreements. And then we're going to add files. And I'm just going to grab a bunch of these. Now, those files that were on my local machine, those were sent up to our server, and they were actually then parsed, indexed, and actually saved. And so now we have 17 documents that are in our library running on the server. We're not going to add any more documents, but certainly we could add hundreds or even thousands of documents running on the server. But what we do want to do is we want to create then an embedding space around this so that we can do semantic retrieval on it. We're going to pick a standard general purpose embedding model in this case. And now the embedding process has been kicked off. All of it triggered by this simple process that we were running on our device. And we can then go and we can see our library actually has been created. You can see 17 documents, there's only 85 pages. The embedding model, the vector database that we used, Milvus, which is, we provide a handful of different enterprise-grade vector databases. Milvus is one of those. And then we've created our embeddings. And what this enables us to do then is we could start to search through our library. We could run semantic search. We could start running text searches against it. And then we can also, we now see it available as a source that we can go use as a knowledge base then available in our application. Hopefully this has given you a few good compelling use cases. Moving to do API-based inference running off the server and toggling back and forth between using the API server and using local device, accessing libraries, creating libraries, and then running an agent both locally as well as on your API server. Stay tuned, a lot more to come. Hope that you've enjoyed today's video. Thank you, everybody.